I'm 81 years old, and my name is Harold. I've been married to Margaret for 60 years. She died last winter, quietly, in her sleep, and I didn't get to say the things I should have said. There's no anger in me anymore, just a quiet ache, a hollow where all the words went unspoken. I keep thinking about the mistakes we made, the ones that weren't dramatic or loud, but just little things left undone, and now it's too late. I met Margaret when I was 21. She was working at the library downtown, and I was a young clerk at the shipping office. She had this way of smiling that made you feel like everything ordinary was suddenly important. I fell for her immediately, the kind of fall that feels inevitable. We got married 2 years later. I remember the first months, modest apartment, peeling wallpaper, 2 jobs between us, just trying to make ends meet. We laughed a lot, mostly at our own exhaustion. I thought love was enough, and I believed it would always be. We had children soon after. Our son, Peter, then Sarah. I remember the early mornings, the school lunches, the diaper changes. I worked long hours to provide for them, thinking that was the proof of my care. Margaret worked too, and still managed the house, the dinners, the tiny moments of magic, like a fresh cake on Saturday or a note tucked in a lunchbox. But even then, I was absent. Not cruel, not intentionally, but busy. There was always something urgent pulling me away, a shipment, a meeting, a repair in the house. I thought time was endless, that we could always catch up later. The first cracks were subtle. Small silences at the table. A look that lingered but wasn't addressed. I remember one night in particular. Peter was about 10. I came home late. Margaret had been up with him all evening because he had a fever. I barely noticed, barely asked. I was tired, yes, but the truth is I didn't realize she needed me. I didn't realize I was slowly building walls between us. She never said anything harsh, she never shouted. She just let the silence grow, and I let it happen. In our 30s, I started traveling for work more often. Weeks away. Margaret managed the house alone, sometimes with the kids, sometimes just with the quiet. I remember missing Sarah's first piano recital, Peter's Little League Championship. I told myself it was temporary, that I was doing it for them, for all of us. And they forgave me, in their way, because children are resilient. But the truth is, those small absences became a pattern. We stopped noticing them, stopped naming them. They became the background hum of our life together. By the time we were in our 40s, the distance between us had become normal. We lived in the same house, ate the same meals, but rarely shared our inner lives. I assumed Margaret knew how much I loved her. She assumed I did. We rarely spoke of our fears, our disappointments, the quiet griefs that accumulated like dust in the corners. Our conversations were practical. Bills, repairs, the weather, our schedules. We both thought that was enough. But it wasn't. It never was. I remember a Saturday morning when I came home with flowers. I was proud of myself, thinking it would be a sweet gesture. Margaret looked at them and said nothing. I felt a pang, but I brushed it off. Later that day, she quietly returned them to the vase in the kitchen. No words, just a subtle reminder that gestures cannot replace presence, cannot undo years of quiet neglect. And I did not understand. Not fully. Not until it was too late. Our children grew up. College, jobs, families of their own. Peter moved across the country. Sarah settled 2 hours away. I thought distance would make me cherish Margaret more, but instead It highlighted the emptiness. We were two people who had known each other for decades, but had forgotten how to really be together. I tried, in the evenings, to talk, but the words stumbled, awkward, out of practice. We had nothing urgent to discuss, and everything urgent had already passed. The turning point came when Margaret fell ill. It was sudden, though her frailty had been creeping in for years. Pneumonia, complications. I was at her side, helpless, watching someone I had loved more than anything slip away. And in that hospital room, surrounded by beeping machines and sterile white walls, I realized everything I had postponed. The conversations, the walks, the quiet nights holding hands, was gone forever. I couldn't fix it. I couldn't make up for the years I had spent believing there would be another tomorrow. I remember holding her hand, her fingers thin and cold in mine, and thinking about all the times I had promised I would do better tomorrow. All the little apologies that never left my mouth. And now, there was no tomorrow left. Only this moment, and the echo of every day I had chosen work over presence, routine over listening, busyness over attention. It wasn't dramatic. Not a single catastrophic mistake, but 1,000 small ones stacked together until they formed a barrier I could no longer cross. The house is quiet now. Too quiet. I sit in the chair where she used to knit, and I trace the lines of the old photographs, the vacations we took, the holidays, the birthdays. The memories are bright, but they burn with a kind of sorrow I cannot put into words. I try to imagine telling her all the things I never did, how proud I was of her, how much I loved her, how sorry I am for not being there in the small ways that mattered most. But she's gone. I whisper them into the empty room, and it feels like shouting into the wind. I see the same quiet mistakes in others, the ones who think time is theirs to command. I wish I could tell the younger version of myself, pay attention, sit a little longer, listen a little closer, laugh together in the evenings instead of catching up on chores, write a note, make a call, stay for dinner. These are the things you will never get back, not once they are gone. And yet, it's not guilt that lingers. It's sorrow, a profound, quiet sorrow that comes from knowing the truth too late. People ask me if I regret marrying Margaret. That's not it. I loved her fiercely. I still do. But love, even when it is strong, cannot fill the spaces you ignore. It cannot erase the years of small absences. I regret the unintentional neglect, the postponement of attention, the assumption that there would always be time. That's what I regret, and it sits in my chest like a stone. Sometimes I catch myself imagining her voice, the softness of her laugh, the way she would tilt her head when she was curious or amused. And I ache, not for what I lost in life, because we had a life together, but for what we never fully shared. The late-night conversations, the quiet confessions, the touch that wasn't rushed or interrupted. Those were the gifts I thought I could delay, and now they are nothing but memory. I suppose that's the thing I want to say to anyone listening. Not advice, not lessons, just truth. Time is not promised. The little gestures matter more than we believe. The presence matters more than any grand gesture. Words matter. Saying what you feel matters. And the absence of these things does not announce itself loudly. It creeps in, quietly, like a shadow, until one day the light is gone, and you are left with a house full of memories and an ache that will not fade. I visit her grave sometimes. I speak to her there, softly, in the way you speak to someone who can't answer, but still hears. I tell her about my days, the little routines, the people I meet, the quiet joys and small pains. And sometimes, when the wind picks up just so, I feel a flicker, like she is listening. It's enough, and it isn't. The rest will never be enough. If this meant something to you, even just a little, I hope you take a moment to sit with the people who matter. Not for an audience, not for validation, not for proof of anything, just for the simple act of being present. Because the things left unsaid, the moments missed, they don't wait for an easier time, and they don't come back. I know that now, too late, with the clarity of every day that follows. I now live with the quiet of what we never fixed. I don't know how much longer I have, but I know that when my time comes, I will carry her memory with me, not in lessons or regrets, but in the simple, enduring fact that we existed together, imperfectly, silently, and fully human.